E-Lightning, and this is Sports Storm. Today we're doing our Western Conference seeding video predictions. But first, before we get it started, let me just tell you that we need your questions and comments for our upcoming sub thank you videos, and we just like to answer your questions and do another one. But we're coming up on 80, 100 subs, and we just like to thank you guys. All right, let's get started with your lottery teams.
At the bottom of the pack, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, they lose Kobe Bryant, which who knows, that may make them better. They add Brandon Ingram, but still this team is not nearly competitive enough to make the playoffs. At number 14, I have the Sacramento Kings. Now, this team, I mean, they have lots of talent. They just don't have any chemistry whatsoever. I think they need to blow it up. I don't see them going anywhere. I only see them getting worse. Too many centers, where it be Costa Kufos, DeMarcus Cousins, Willie Cauley-Stein, or Georgios Papagiannis, or Skal Labissiere. So they definitely need to figure what's going on in Sacramento. At number 13, I have the Phoenix Suns. They have Eric Bledsoe, Devin Booker. I do think this team could get a tad better, but I do think they're still going to be at the bottom of the Western Conference with it being so competitive. Number 12, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. Maybe a bit low for New Orleans. They add Buddy Hield, but they do lose Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon. So they do have a top 10 player in Anthony Davis, but I still don't see them being extremely competitive this year. Number 11, I have the Denver Nuggets. Another team with tons of young talent, just really hasn't developed well enough. I do think in a few years they will be a playoff team, but for now they're still too young to tell. Number 10, I have the Houston Rockets, another team with a top 10 NBA player in James Harden, but really nothing much else. They do add Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson, but they lose Dwight Howard. And at number 9, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Now, not a lot has changed to this team other than age, except they do add Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut, yet lose Zaza Pachulia, but they're going to be just on the outside of the Western Conference playoffs.
I have the same number 15 as you, the Los Angeles Lakers. As you said, they have a good foundation right now, but a foundation is not a house. They will get obliterated by the other teams in the West, and they are still not ready to compete. At number 14, I have the Suns. They have some young pieces and some trade assets. They should honestly trade those assets, get even more young pieces, and try to return to the playoffs in a couple years. At number 13, I have the Nuggets. Now, I do feel like they have a lot of young talent and will be a playoff team in a few years, as you have stated. However, I don't feel like they're meshed enough or together, and still have a few bit of things that they need to work out before they can really be up there. And number 12, I have the Kings. As you said, if you looked at them just on paper, you'd think they'd be like almost a playoff team. However, their chemistry and lack of coaching really does hurt them. Number 11, I have the Houston Rockets. Of course, they have James Harden, who is a very good player, and they're going to have an electric offense with tons of perimeter shooting. However, the lack of defense is going to kill them in the West with so many other explosive offensive teams. Then at number 10, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, this is not the year, but next year will be the year. I think they're just one of those teams that just on the outside looking in. And then finally, at number 9, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they still have Russell Westbrook. However, that team is just not going to be as good. Now, if Steven Adams takes a huge step forward, maybe, but I just have them on the outside looking in. What is your number 8 seed?
At number 8, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I do think they have a chance to make the playoffs, considering how well Karl-Anthony Towns played last season. I think Andrew Wiggins is poised to break out. So I think they definitely have a 1-2 punch in Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns, potentially being the next pair of young superstars like the Thunder had in Durant and Westbrook. I think Karl-Anthony Towns and Wiggins are going to be the next great two pair in the NBA. I think they're in at number 8.
My number 8 is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. Now, they have a lot of streaks going with 50 wins making the playoffs. However, this streak is going to end after this year, but they still have one more year. They still have Dirk. As you said, they added Harrison Barnes, and if he takes a huge step forward, as I think he will, they could even be up higher in the playoffs. But I feel like 8 is a good, solid spot for them with a really competitive West. What is your number 7 seed?
Number 7, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't have them falling down as far as much as you did. Now, remember the one time they lost Kevin Durant to injury, to the foot injury. Russell Westbrook took over and was amazing. Tons of triple-doubles. Almost led them to the playoffs. But remember, this team wasn't as good as it was now. They add Victor Oladipo, and those players aren't injured anymore. And Steven Adams, I think, is also going to be a much better player next season. I have the Thunder at number 7.
My number 7 is going to be New Orleans Pelicans. I think they've added a lot of good pieces, whether it be Solomon Hill or Buddy Hield. And I feel like now with that, and Anthony Davis, I think his team is finally ready to take a step into the playoffs. Now, it's a very competitive West. The only reason I put them ahead of teams like the Thunder, that Anthony Davis can straight up dominate the game, and now that he has a perimeter shooter to help lay off some of the defense, that should tremendously upgrade their offense, allowing them to hang with teams like the Mavs and Thunder.
Well,
All right, what is your number 60?
I just want to comment on that Pelicans thing. I don't really see them being better than the Thunder. I think Russell Westbrook.
I think they could easily be better than the Thunder. Russell Westbrook may be barely a better player, but if you look at the supporting cast, it's much better. Anthony Davis, having a good big really helps in the West. It allows you to beat up teams that don't have very other good bigs. I mean, if you try to name like the extremely dominant centers and power forwards in the West.
They lost. Sorry for interrupting you, but they lost so much perimeter shooting. They lost Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson. They replaced him with Buddy Hield,
They now have Buddy.
Buddy
Hield's a rookie. Yes, so he's not going to be guarded. They're going to leave him open sometimes.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to.
The offense is going to be much better now. It's going to flow. Plus, Solomon Hill took huge steps. The offense is going to be much improved.
I just don't see it happening. All right.
I just don't see the Thunder happening.
I do.
No, it's not.
The supporting cast for the Thunder.
You can have a top 5 player, and not. It's pretty easy. The Pelicans did it. The Thunder are not that good. Victor Oladipo cannot shoot, which is what he needs to do. That team has very little perimeter shooting.
Well, but so does the Pelicans. The Pelicans have one perimeter.
The Thunder don't have any perimeter shooting. Who are you gonna have to shoot the ball? Kyle Singler?
No.
Woo!
No, you also have. You have Anthony Morrow and Andre Roberson. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna be amazing, but I just think the Thunder have a much better
let's just move on to your number 6 team, okay?
Yeah. Okay. All right. At number 6, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Now they retained Mike Conley to an absurdly high contract, and they also somehow got Chandler Parsons. Now those two players are taking up over 50% of their salary cap space, but this team is still going to be competitive. But I do think those moves will hurt them will hurt them down the road. But I do think they're going to be the 6th seed this year, not getting home court advantage in the playoffs. But I do think they're going to still make the playoffs.
My number 6 seed is the Utah Jazz. They play good team basketball, and when Rodney Hood, Derek Favors, Gordon Hayward, and Rudy Gobert are all on the floor, they are a really tremendous team. However, Alec Burks, if he takes another step forward, they could even get even higher. But this is a team that is good enough to finally make the playoffs in the West. I think the roster is finally developed enough, and I think even next year they could be even higher, maybe even get a home court. What's your number 5 seed?
At number 5, I have the Utah Jazz, and I think they have a top 10, maybe even top 5. You could possibly argue it. Starting lineup in the NBA now with George. Hey, you can argue that.
No, you cannot argue that.
Okay, I'm just saying I'm not.
No, George Hill is not part of any top 5 starting lineup.
I'm not saying they have. I said it's arguable. I don't have it in the top 5. Yes, it's arguable.
Go ahead, argue it.
I'm not saying.
George Hill, not an all-star. Rodney Hood, not an all-star. Gordon Hayward, barely an all-star caliber player. Derek Favors, barely an all-star. Rudy Gobert, good defensive player, not an all-star.
Well, okay, I'm just saying.
How are you going to say that they have a top 5 starting lineup, but they don't even have an all-star?
The Hawks a few years back had no all-stars, and then they all of a sudden had amazing chemistry, and all of them became, or 4 of the 5 players in the starting lineup became.
You cannot count on that. You can't count on that.
I think they will have at 1 all-star in their starting lineup. Okay, whatever.
That makes it top 5.
I'm putting them at number 5. Just regard that. Okay, they have a top 10 starting lineup. Would you agree with that?
Okay, I'll give them 10.
Yeah, top 10 starting lineup in the NBA. Lots of young talent and Derek Favors, Gordon Hayward, defensive stalwart in Rudy Gobert. I think what Rodney Hood's going to develop this year. They got George Hill. I'm not sure how great of a move that was, giving up their number 12 pick for him, but we'll see how that works out. I do think they're going to be higher in the playoff seeding this year at number 5.
At my number 5, I was the Memphis Grizzlies. Now I think Mike Conley, he went from underrated to overpaid extremely fast. However, Mike Conley is a good point guard. I think he's going to continue his solid all-star caliber play. And, of course, you got Tony Allen, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Of course, get Chandler Parsons, who can really give you some scoring and some perimeter shooting that Memphis has lacked for so long. And with the return of a healthy Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph, I think they can really beat it up down low and still get the number 5 seed. All right, who is your number 4?
My first team with home court advantage, I have the Los Angeles Clippers sitting here at the number 4 seed, set to take on the Utah Jazz. I do think the Los Angeles Clippers are loaded with talent, and I think they might actually get past the second round this year. Who knows? It might happen. It's a possibility. This team loaded with talent. Who knows? Maybe they trade Blake Griffin away. If that does happen, these entire rankings probably will be changed. But I do think this team is still going to be a top 4 seed.
At number 4, I also have the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, for all the reasons you just stated, they have a really great big 3. Wow. What? It's a solid prediction. You looked at me like it was not a good prediction.
No, it was a great prediction.
Yeah, I know.
What?
Thanks. They have DeAndre Jordan, one of the best rebounders and defenders in the league. Blake Griffin, one of the most electrifying players. And no, they don't trade him. Then I think they should be golden. Chris Paul is still in a top 5 point guard and the best passer in the league. And there's really not much else that needs to be said. All right, who is your number 3 seed?
At number 3, I have the Portland Trailblazers, led by NBA, I think, superstar Damian Lillard. Somehow he wasn't an all-star last year. Pair him up with another young star in C.J. McCollum. I do think they did add Festus Ezeli, which isn't a great move. They do lose Allen Crabbe, but I think the amazing backcourt of McCollum.
They matched the offer for Allen Crabbe.
What?
They matched the Allen.
Oh, they did? All right. Yeah. So I still think the backcourt of McCollum and Damian Lillard is going to continue to improve. I think Damian Lillard's an MVP candidate for next season. I think he can get possibly even 30 points a game. I think he's going to emerge as one of the league's best players. I have the Blazers at number 3.
Number 3, I also have the Trailblazers. Now, we're doing an NBA awards prediction a little bit later on, and I'll tell you, Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum are a top 5 backcourt. And honestly, Festus Ezeli, he gives you a good defensive presence and some rebounding, and they can still develop him. And Mason Plumlee also still developing. But I really think when you put up Damian Lillard, I think he honestly you can put him right up there with people like Russell Westbrook and Stephen Curry for players who can just take over a game at the point guard position. And I think just that and C.J. McCollum's overall offensive game and emergence can put them at the number 3 seed. All right, who is your number 2 seed?
Number 2, I think this is pretty obvious. San Antonio Spurs. They add Pau Gasol, but they do lose Tim Duncan. I think that kind of an upgrade almost, because Tim Duncan really wasn't contributing much.
He always contributes.
No, but toward the tail end of his career, he kept contributing less and less. And I think Pau Gasol is a better upgrade over Tim Duncan at this point. He's still aging, but they're going to have one of the best front courts, if not the best front court in the NBA with Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Pau Gasol. Their backcourt's still a little iffy, but I have them at number 2, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA.
I also have Spurs at number 2. Now, we all know who's number 1, but the Spurs are a close second. Of course, they have Kawhi, LaMarcus Aldridge. Tony Parker can still give you a little bit. Manu Ginobili can still give you a little bit. If you look at almost every single player on their team can give you a something every night. Like, they may not, nobody would ever predict Danny Green to be a major contributor. But in the Spurs system, everybody contributes, and everything helps, and it disguises players' weaknesses, and that's the beauty of it, and that's why they'll always be up there. All right, who is your 1 seed?
I don't think there's any argument to this. It's the Golden State Warriors, adding former MVP Kevin Durant. Now they have 2 MVPs on the roster, Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, along with 2 All-Stars in Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, ultimately one of the biggest or best super teams of all time. I think there's no argument. Warriors are the best team in the Western Conference, if not the NBA.
I also have the Warriors as the best in the Western Conference for all the reasons you just said. They have the best starting lineup in the league. I mean, short of LeBron, they have 2 top 5 players, which is ridiculous. And then you also add in the fact that you give them a really great perimeter defender in Andre Iguodala. You give them Sean Livingston, who's been a really great backup point guard for them. And then it just doesn't seem real that this team can exist, and they're obviously the best. That is it for us today at Sports Storm. Please like,
comment,
subscribe.
Peace.